Hello everyone, Ben here, and welcome to another 2020 election prediction. And as you can see, we're doing Trump versus Biden. And let's go ahead and pull these out, because that'll help us a little bit later on. Friday, I am going to do a Trump-Warren election night. I'm going to try and shorten it up from the previous couple of ones that I've done. I'm still working on, doing those, in a correct manner. So that's kind of why I'm taking a long time, but I'm also kind of extending the drama in some cases, or comedy in the case of the Kanye one. But we're going to be looking at Trump versus Biden. So first thing I'm going to do is, I think we should talk, I'm trying to think of which region I want to talk about. Let's talk about the South. Okay. Georgia is not on the cards. I think it's going to be about a 6-point lead. Now, these are all states that I think in 2020, almost regardless of the candidate, but even in this matchup, are going to be wider than a 10-point margin. I think Iowa is becoming very much a red state, just period. Not even a lean red state, but I could very well be wrong. Again, that should be a disclaimer in all of my videos, is that this is just my opinion based off of what I've seen and a lot of other factors. I'm not ever going to claim to be, psychic or 120% correct. Just to be completely clear. Okay? North Carolina, I think Trump also wins that. It's going to be within 5. And Virginia, it's going to depend on the governor's race. Gillespie wins, Trump will win it. In almost every scenario. Northam wins, which I'm probably going to do a one final Gillespie Northam video. Because that does matter. I think that election is going to matter significantly. And also because I currently reside in Virginia, specifically southwest part of the state. About 45 minutes west of Roanoke. So yes, I do live in a bit of a rural area. So anyway, this is a tough one, I think, just because of history, at least recent history. I'm going to give Biden Virginia just because I don't feel like going out on that limb until after the election. Until after the governor's race, okay? The gubernatorial election. Florida we'll talk about. It's a swing state. It's a traditional swing state. I'm going to move to New England now. I think Biden will probably easily, not easily, but within 5 points capture New Hampshire. I say that because Trump has kind of made a couple of faux pas when it comes to New Hampshire. And I'm also going to give Biden Maine's at large. It's going to be within 5 points. I'm going to cover this district in Nebraska, not Maine, Nebraska, which I think will go to Trump by about 5 to 10 points-ish. Depending on how far it goes will tell us, more about other races. But anyway, moving on to the Southwest, I'm going to give Trump the benefit of the doubt and give him Arizona. If you were to get a Democrat from Arizona, Arizona would flip, or a Southwest Democrat, or maybe a conservative Democrat, John Bel Edwards. But yeah, so I'm just going to give Trump the benefit of the doubt in Arizona, just like I'm going to say that I don't think any screwiness will happen, and that Biden will win the Southwest fairly comfortably. When I say Southwest, I mean, sorry, we'll win. Wow, I'm slipping up today. Nevada, Colorado, and New Mexico by varying degrees. This should be. There we go. That's the color I wanted it. Okay, so obviously this brings us to the Rust Belt and Florida. And this is where we have to decide how much we're going to weigh incumbency and how much we're going to weigh, the type of candidate each one is and a few other things. Trump's economic, is doing well economically. According to the most recent information I have, he has a +2 net approval rating when it comes to the economy, not overall. I think he's at a 40% approval rating if you take likely voters into account. If you're only counting likely voters instead of all adults. He's at a 40% approval rating, which is hilarious because most presidents way outperform their economic approval numbers. And that matters because where is his economic performance coming? Primarily from the industrial sector. And that is incredibly important in this area. However, Biden is from Pennsylvania. I'm going to give him Pennsylvania. I don't think it's fair not to, and I don't think it's maybe not fair not to. I just don't think if you have someone who is originally from a certain state and can campaign extremely well in that area. I think Biden will campaign well in Pennsylvania. I think Ohio was just too far to the Republicans for Biden to win in 2020. Because, Trump almost got a 10-point victory in Ohio. So, we're at what I think Trump's 2020 floor is, unless he somehow runs into Bill Clinton, like a Bill Clinton candidate, who has a massive conservative challenge in the general, like a serious conservative third-party candidate running against him. It's going to take a lot for Trump to underperform this map. And I think if there is a candidate who might, it could be Biden. I think Sherrod Brown could also do it. I think John Bel Edwards might, but that's just because of regional funkiness. To be honest with you, I really do think that's just based because of the fact that John Bel Edwards is from the South. He's a Southern Democrat. And if anybody saw my primary predictions, I did predict that Biden would win the Democrat primary. Because I think he's the right kind of Democrat. He's not too establishment. He would definitely have the support of the establishment, but he's not an establishment candidate. But he's not a populist candidate either. He treads that fine line. He's the right kind of Democrat they need. It would be great if he was 30 years younger, but as it stands, he's still a very good candidate. Not saying I would vote for him because I wouldn't, but he's definitely the right candidate for the Democrats, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so now we move on to the interesting states. I don't think Trump would repeat in Michigan, and I just don't see him winning Minnesota. If he's winning Minnesota, he wins Michigan, in most cases. And if he's losing in Michigan, there's no way in hell he wins Minnesota. Again, in most cases. Now, Florida and Wisconsin, the election is coming down to one of these states. Trump needs them both, and Biden needs only one. And here's the thing, it's going to come down to Florida, not Wisconsin, because I think that Wisconsin is actually a red-leaning swing state. And here's why. Scott Walker, projected to lose his first election for governor, right? By a decent margin. He wins it. Okay, so the Democrats call for a recount, or not a recount, but a recall. Do a recall election, right? Scott Walker wins that by a bigger margin than he won the governor's race. And again, he was projected to lose that recall election. And then, of course, he was expected to lose his re-election campaign. He won it. Okay, so that's already 3 elections where the Republican has outperformed polling numbers. But it gets worse for the Democrats. First, Trump was expected to lose the state by 6 or 7 points in 2016, and he won it by a full point. That's 8% of overperforming. Ron Johnson. He is the current senator in Wisconsin. He was expected to lose to the then incumbent Russ Feingold, and Ron Johnson won. And if you know anything about American politics, you know it's incredibly difficult to defeat an incumbent. And of course, we all know Feingold was expected to win that. 2016, Ron Johnson is up for re-election, and guess who his opponent is? Russ Feingold. And guess who was projected to win that? Russ Feingold. And guess who actually won it? Ron Johnson. So, that's already 6 elections where the Republican has been expected to lose, but winds up winning. Okay, so Florida. This is where, I don't know, it's a close state. It is a close state. Trump won by about 2 points there in 2016. So it was a very competitive state, too. I do think Biden improves on Hillary's numbers. But I think just because he's the incumbent, I think Trump wins there, but it's going to be extremely close, and it might not be called for a couple of days. Now, of course, if you flip any one of these states, of course, Trump loses and Biden wins. But I think Biden's best shot is to win Florida. So, yeah, this is what I think will happen, but I could easily be wrong, and I would anticipate Biden to be extremely competitive up here. I expect him to be competitive in Florida, and I expect him to be reasonably competitive in North Carolina. But I definitely think that Trump has a slight advantage because he's the incumbent. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and take it easy.